Hey everyone, this is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row. Thanks so much for listening to the following broadcast, courtesy of Public House Media.
I'm the Greg.
And I am Dave Show.
We host the Greg and Dave Show on Public House Media.
Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out our show, The Greg and Dave Show, where we talk about strange, bizarre, and sometimes just downright quirky news stories that you may not have heard about.
A new show comes out every Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And hey, thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Everyone, it is No Filter Friday on Public House Media, and we have to talk about Louis C.K. because people will not stop asking me about it. So apparently, I'm in charge of whatever it is that he's doing or not doing. So with that being said, we're talking about that, and it's gotten so out of control. What people's questions, comments, and concern. Like, I normally have a beverage on this show unless something really happens. But you know what I have this week? I have popcorn this week because the comments on it just make me want to be like Michael Jackson. And just sit here like this. Oh, really? Seriously, this is what happens? This week I've become a Michael Jackson GIF, basically. Basically, that's what I've become. Roger Neal's here. Hello, Roger Neal. Thanks for coming by. Have people you've been talking to this week, have they been talking about Louis C.K. doing his set at the Comedy Cellar and people losing their minds? Because that's basically been my whole week. Like, I've done some other cool stuff, like, I've had meetings with CEOs, got shopping agreements for other shows and all types of stuff, but this week has really been preceded by Louis C.K. and what he's doing with his penis. Literally can't get away from it. Roger Neal says, of course, yes. Of course it's happening. And David Bobke. Oh, good. Yay. These are still my janky headphones, but you know what? They seem to work. They seem to work. The dogs have eaten the other half, so I can't use this side. But the other side works just fine. Yes! Roger Neal is asking, or said he was looking forward to me presenting an award at the Family Film Awards. And I'm super excited to present, too. I have never presented an award before. I've, given people, trophies, but I've never done the whole the envelope please thing. I've never got to do that before, so this is gonna be, it's super fun. Yes, oh yeah, Roger and Steven had dinner the other night. He got you to go to Don Cuco's with him. He was so happy that you guys went to Don Cuco's, you don't even know. He loved every second of it. Totally into it. It is. David Bobke says it sounds cool. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. We've been to all kinds of Roger Neal events over the years. He's gotten me eyelashes and spray tans and facials, all kinds of stuff. We love Roger Neal. Although, since it's No Filter Friday, I'll tell the story. A couple years ago at the Oscar for Roger's Oscar night, it's a dinner, but, it's Oscar night stuff. We got sat at this table with this really ratchet chick that was a friend of the chef, or so she said, and she, would not stop yelling at people, and these poor foreign people were supposed to, sit at our table, too, or they were told that they were, they were confused or something, and they came over, but our table was full, and then they tried to sit down, and this girl's like, no, this is not your table. You can't sit here. Just lost her mind. And I'm like, girl, calm down. You're being loud. And she's like, does it hurt your ears? And I'm like this girl, and got into it so heated. We ended up leaving. I told her, what did I tell her? I told her that her chef friend should come bring her a plate of class. Like, it was and then, do you remember this, Roger? She tried to fight your wife. Or that's what I heard. I heard she tried to fight your wife. But anyway, so we had left and went to the Chanel house that night. We went to the Chanel Beauty House. It was so much fun. My, profile picture on Facebook is from that night, actually, now that I think about it. And then, apparently, she was leaving there and tried to fight your wife, or that's what we heard. Anyway. That was the most... Ooh! That year that Leo was nominated for Revenant and he had to win, otherwise he was going to spontaneously combust, was the most ratchet Oscar season I have experienced in my decade in LA. Yes, security removed her. Yes, she was ratchet, huh? She wasn't even dressed nice. No. Okay, so David, she was like, that's what she was saying. She's like, we're friends with the chef and you can't sit here and blah, 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 blah. I told her to just lower her voice. Like, if you want to be ratchet, like, I can't stop you from that, but could you be, like, quiet or ratchet? Is that something that you're here, can you bring it down to here? And so she just tripped out because I asked her to not yell in an establishment. And she's like, that's what she kept screaming at me. Does it hurt your ears? Does it bother you? I'm like, no, but your face hurts my eyes. Like, could you not with your face either? Like, I'm really mean, okay? I am the meanest chick. It was Gary Garver's date. Who's Gary Garver? If I run into him, I'm going to mention that to him because she was ratchet, which we all know that means about him. Anyway... So, I'm trying to share this from my laptop so we can all get this Louis C.K. conversation going. But anyway, there it goes. I forget how to use my old laptop. I don't know what to do with it. Anyway, he hosts a radio show. Ooh, I'm going to get on his radio show and call him out for that. Be like, so what it is about you and your ratchet nether regions that attract ratchets like that? I want to know. But yeah, it was wild. It was a wild Oscar season. We ran into a lot of other ratchets that Oscar season, too. It had something to do with Leo getting nominated and going to a bunch of parties and stuff and people wanting to bone him. That's what it was. Regardless, it was horrible. So I'm going to take a second and... share the broadcast so everybody can get in on this action because this is it's a wild week and I have things to say. Okay, so what are we going to title it? Are you feeling judgmental? Okay. Post. Okay, it's posting. Great. People want to get into my dinner because it's a hot ticket. It was a hot ticket. But anyway, so she was saying that she was friends with the chef, and I was like, well, maybe your chef friend should, like, bring you a plate of class. And then we left. And I think was my hair down? No, my hair wasn't down that year, and I wish it was because I would have just swung it on her and left out. Hopefully your wife swung her hair and swung it on her for me, for the both of us. Walmart is calling. Oh my goodness. Well, people are certainly calling me about him. But I've invited that into my life. Like, doing this show, talking about stuff like this all the time. That's why people call me and ask me. And it's one of the reasons, like, I didn't start doing No Filter Friday as soon as the news hit. Like, it took me a couple weeks to, like, really formulate what I wanted to do. And then I called Mr. Baxter, the purveyor of Public House Media. I was like, Baxter, I gotta do this. And he's like, okay, crazy, but you can't swear. So, I really try to do my best with that. But anyway, this week has made me get the popcorn because, Lord have mercy, do people have opinions on him doing a show at the Comedy Cellar in New York, which is a great, iconic comedy club, and he got a standing ovation. And since I haven't been to New York in a minute, when the article came out, when the headlines came out, I was like, Louis, my editing game is on point, rant away. Oh, David Bob, you don't encourage me like that. Baxter's going to be mad. I really try, like, on Fridays, like, I really try to, like, get my mouth to a place that is not so dirty. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on if I'm working or not. If I have, like, I have to, like, get in my zone on the Fridays and be like, bring the mouth in. You're out here, needs to be here. This is where the music is made. Get it together. So the headlines have read this week, like, Louis C.K. gets a standing ovation at the Comedy Cellar in New York, does his first set in, X amount of time. And I was like, standing ovation? I thought that's what he was doing in these hotel rooms. I thought he was giving standing ovations. Is that what the kids are calling it these days? And like, no. Like, he actually, like, he did a set. People, the whole room was super excited to see him. All but 2 people stood up and gave him a standing ovation. Okay, cool. So jerking off in front of people is not called a standing ovation, as it turns out. I thought I was getting fooled. But you know what? I've been fooled before, so whatever. So, he does his first set in a while, gets a standing ovation, blah, 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 blah. And then people start with the outrage, basically, of either, yay, go Louis, or, oh my God, he needs to go somewhere, he hasn't done his time yet, blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing, though. Meanwhile, other people that have done things, Harvey Weinstein is at some sort of pathway facility in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's the same, like, sex rehab. Oh, Jamie's here. Thanks for coming in. Jamie, are you feeling judgmental? Are you? I hope you are. One of my favorite judgmental people. So Harvey Weinstein is away doing laps in the pool, apparently, at this sex rehab place in Arizona. Same place that Tiger Woods went when he cheated on his wife, Elin Woods. And then, now that he's on house arrest in Connecticut, apparently he's not on, like, house arrest. Apparently people in this town in Connecticut, like, see him around. Like, he goes to the movies, he goes to this, like, little coffee shop and, like, reads the newspaper and drinks coffee. It's like, I feel like at this point, like, if I was him at this point, that's number one thing I would not be doing is reading newspapers. That seems like a bad choice, but whatever. Anyway, so that's what he's doing. Matt Lauer's and this other, Greg Porter's here. Hi, Greg Porter. Thanks for coming in. Matt Lauer is at some other facility that's got, like, 2 swimming pools and 8 fireplaces and tennis courts, and he's doing whatever, sex addiction treatment plan, whatever. Oh, there's another thing about Harvey. So apparently, like, this place in Scottsdale is, like, supposed to be, like, a really good, rehab facility, and their programs are supposed to be whatever. It's like $45,000 for a treatment plan or whatever. So Harvey checked out early, and his reps were like, no. Like, he didn't complete it, basically. He didn't do his days that he was supposed to do. But his reps are like, no. He finished all of it early. He finished early. Like, that's the way that they spun it. I was like, really? Seriously? Not the time. Like, stay at your little posh spot in Scottsdale. Just stay there. So meanwhile, they're doing that off on their little rehab treatment center things. Louis C.K. is, getting back in the game, but Louis C.K. is, like, the only person that has, like, stuff in production, basically. So I fielded a lot of calls this week on, like, why, Louis getting a standing ovation. He's, kind of getting back in the game. Blah, 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 blah. And there's been lots of people that have written, like, we'll call them opinion pieces because they're not really news articles because these people weren't there. About how, like, he needs to spend more time away and he needs to be this and he needs to be that. And then other people are like, well, apparently #MeToo is not really accomplishing anything, which I beg to differ. I don't think that's true. If it wasn't accomplishing anything, there wouldn't be this, like, polarization on him doing stand-up again. But there's a really good article by a website called Boing, I guess. It's Boing twice. And the headline of the article is Louis C.K. gets his dick out. Go read it. It's hilarious. I can't read the article to you on this network, but you can read it yourself. Just imagine reading it in my voice. That's what I think you should do. So that's the title of it. It's like, he gets his dick out. Okay, great. Here's the reason. My 3 reasons as to why Louis C.K. not only is back to work and getting a standing ovation, but by and large, people are okay with it. A. Legally speaking, there's nothing anybody can do about him jerking off in front of people that he's on tour with or on tour adjacent with in these hotel rooms, because he said that he asked permission to jerk off in front of these ladies and they said yes. It's happened to a bunch of people, kind of from A to Z. Some, like, bigger female comics, mid-level female comics, lower end female comics that are, like, trying to be on the come up, It's a whole range of people that he's done this from. But before he did it, he asked them permission. They said yes, so he did it. He got consent. So legally speaking, there's nothing really anybody can do. And these ladies did say yes. So there's no legal argument there. So that's out. It can't be prosecuted or caught up in any kind of trouble, whether it be criminally or civilly. So that's out the window. Number 2, he's pretty independent. Like, Louis puts out all of his own albums on his own dime, sells them himself. He doesn't, it's kind of like the Radiohead of comedy, basically. He doesn't kick up to anybody in that way. Like, he fronts the money to tape his own specials. Not tape his own specials, but, like, record his own albums. Which are stand-up specials, recorded live. And he puts them out himself, and people buy them, and that's that. Greg Wattensteiner asks, how do you ask permission to do something like that? Just curious. Why, Greg? Do you want to do it too? Guys are weird. They're strange creatures. That's about as best I can tell you. Like, people do this. We're going to get to that point. Let me get through the reasons why this is, like, Louis on the come up again. And then we will get to the jerking off in front of people thing, because I have a whole rant about that, but we got to get through this first. We're going to put a pin in how do you ask permission to jerk off in front of people. We're going to come back to that. So, the 2 ladies that were like, he did this in front of us, and then everybody else was like, yep, he's known for doing that. He's done it to basically everybody. Were not big enough deals to really make a splash. And then when you combine that with the fact that he did get consent, whether it be pressured or coerced or whatever, he got consent. So there's nothing they can do about it. Here's a little add-on piece to that. His producing partner for his show, Louis, is a woman, and she's a very well-respected... Oh, Tiara's here. Hello, Tiara. Is a very well-respected lady producer, and that show does really, really well. Which brings me to my final piece of this. Louis has been telling people for a long time, whether it be directly or indirectly, I want to judge. Me too! This is the judgmental episode. Has been telling people, whether it be indirectly through his shows and things like that, or directly on stage to people doing stand-up, that he's a freak. Like, he's a weirdo, and that's kind of, like, his, like, brand of comedy is, like, on the surface it's funny, but if you just little itty scratch that surface, it is dark, it is dirty, and it is nasty, and that's him. That's who he is as a person. So he's been letting his freak flag fly for... Oh, John McKenzie's here, and he's waving. I can't see that far. Are you waving? You are waving! Thanks for the wave, man. He's been telling people, like, if you go talk to him, if you see him... I saw him a few months ago at the Improv. Like, if you go talk to him, he's a freak. He'll, like... You can go ask him, Louis, are you a freak? He's like, yeah. Never been a normal day in my life. So, to get a really good, steamy, scandalous news story, and have any outcome from it, you have to have something to take, which is what people seem to really want these days. They want to take things from people, particularly jobs and stuff like that, which is a different conversation for another show that we'll probably have at some point. So he doesn't really have anything to take because he puts out his own albums and stuff like that. And he's been telling, there's no surprise, like, oh, Louis C.K. the freak is into freaky stuff? Where's my hoop skirt and my fainting couch when I need it? Oh, really? He is. So, he's back to work. However you feel about it is however you feel about it. But he's back to doing stand-up, and I'm sure his show will come back because it does really, really well for his network. And if he's being well received on the street in public, then here we go, basically. But the back and forth on the comments on it, oh my lord. That's where things get really funny. Stephen had a show at the Laugh Factory last night with a lot of fun people. And you can't really hang out, like, in the Laugh Factory like you can the Improv or the Comedy Store. You have to hang out outside. And people come by, because they do 3 shows a night there, so people are in and out. You never know who's going to come walking down Sunset Boulevard. And everybody's talking about, like, oh, like, he's doing his set at the Comedy Cellar, and he got a standing ovation, and, like, most of the comics are okay with it, because he's such a lauded, praised stand-up comic. Like, they're pretty much into it, and everybody loves the Comedy Cellar, and that's, like, a big feature, like, on the Louis show is the Comedy Cellar. Like, that's, I don't know if they really, when you're like a huge comic of that level, if you really have like a home club like everybody else does, but considering he shoots his show there, I would imagine that's basically his home club, or the closest thing to it, at least on paper anyway. So, in true comedy club fashion, I guess, where one goes, the others go. So, if whoever at the Comedy Cellar is having him back, then Caroline's will have him back. Stand Up New York will have him back. All those 8 clubs in New York, will be having him back. And I think another little teeny tiny piece of it is that Louis has always really done a lot of either material and stand-up or on his show about him being a dad and really, like, involving his girls and things like that. So I think that really helps soften the blow for him too, is people looking at him as the dad that he is. And even though he is a freak, like, behind closed doors, takes care of his kids, so it doesn't make anything right, but I think it softens the blow. So, now we can get to the real judgmental part of the show. So, what I will say is, without a filter, is that this whole jerking off in front of people thing is a comedian thing. I may have talked about this before. I don't remember. I've talked about it with a lot of people, like, in person, and I can't remember if I've talked about it on the show or not. Jerking off in front of people is a comedian thing, and here's why. People that do stand-up live for an audience. Like, that's what the back and forth of them doing something and having an audience, like, that brain pathway is their jam. They live for it. So, although weird, it's not entirely surprising that they're into it having an audience sexually, of them being like the star of the show, and then finishing and people going, I don't know what that was. Which, you know, happens at a lot of shows. People are like, what? I don't know. Like, Kurt Metzger got on stage last night and did a whole set about his dick hole. People are like, I guess I have to clap for him? I don't know. I know some people are really into him. Some people can't stand him. Like, he's a real polarizing dude. But he's the only person that I can think of that has a full set of material on his urethra. It's very strange. It's a very strange dude. Hi, Jelly. Can you go somewhere else? Jelly's trying to get in on the business here. But anyway, okay, so jerking off in front of people, like, is absolutely a comedian thing. It's about performing for an audience. It's like the same brain pathway, but sexually. And I've experienced this before. Like, I've had comics jerk off in front of me unannounced, and it was really, really weird. Granted, they didn't ask me permission like he did, like Louis C.K. does, but this has happened to me. A million years ago, I had this really janky apartment in Farmington Hills. And it was gross. Like, one of the last places I lived in Michigan before I came here. And around that time, like, I was partying really hard. That's the time that I came, like, really tight with, like, all the Shady Records people, and we were having lots of parties and stuff like that. Em was doing a lot of pills at the time and playing PlayStation. Like, it was a wild time. We had a good time back in the beginning of the recession, essentially. And one of these dudes that I met at somebody's studio, because people, you know, come through the studio at night, you're partying until 2, 3 in the morning, whatever, and people would come by and then leave or don't or whatever. So sometimes we go to the club, sometimes we wouldn't. It just depended. One of these dudes that would come hang out with us every now and then was his comic. His name's Clipperman, because he's also a barber. So that's his. I don't even know his real name. I've seen this guy jerk off in front of me in my own home, in my house, and I don't even know his real name. But you can find him on Instagram at Clipperman. Anyway, so sometimes, on occasion, I'm not really big into having people in my house. Surprise, surprise, because they jerk off on my good towels. And sometimes people would, like, come hang out with us, like, after we're hanging out, whatever. And, you know, like, it wasn't sexual or anything, but sometimes people would come by and hang out. And one day, somehow, it ended up just me and Clippa. So people had left to go get Chinese food from down the street, or something like that. So he's in my bathroom, like, literally dicking around. And he just, with the door open, okay? Door wide open, and my apartment was not big, okay? This is my little icky. I have so many quotes to David. No. Okay, so he's literally dicking around, dick in his hand with my bathroom door open. And he's asking me questions today. Hey, what kind of lotion do you have? This seems medicated. I don't know. I don't like the smell of this one. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop! Like, and he just can't stop. He finishes on one of my good towels, okay? At that time in my life, I didn't have good towel money, so this was extra insulting. And then he comes out with his dick still out, comes out of the bathroom with his, and tries to hand me this towel, like, what should I do with this? I'm like, I put it in the washing machine. The washing machine is it. No, yes, John McKenzie. No shame in his game whatsoever. Go on his Instagram and ask him about it. Be like, have you jerked off in other girls' homes unannounced? Just ask him. Just see what he says. So he tries to give me this towel, and I'm like, the washing machine is in the bathroom. Put it in the washing machine, put the lid down, and send it through. You have defiled my good towels when I don't have good towel type of money. I don't even remember how I got him out of my house and how this ended, but I do remember being really mad about the towel and, like, making him wash it. But it is a comedian thing to jerk off in front of people. It's weird. I'm going to tell you another thing. And Steven's going to be really, really mad at me for telling you this, but I don't care. So, according to the male comedian therapist, because this is LA and we have therapists for everything, like, sometimes guys jerk off and then get sad about it when they're alone because they're used to doing something and having an audience. So I think it has something to do with that, about why he wants, like, why Louis C.K. and these comedians, like, want to jerk off in front of people. It's because they're used to, they want an audience. They did a thing, and they want an audience. So if you happen to be in possession of eyeballs in their vicinity, this seems to be what they want to do. So there you have it. I have unfiltered it. It's Friday. Tea has been spilled. It's kind of embarrassing, but whatever. Now you know. You had questions. People have been calling me with questions about this all week. As soon as that headline came out, people were like, oh my God, Louis C.K., blah, 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 blah. Like, literally can't get away from it. I don't even really know him, and I cannot get away from his penis this week. He doesn't even live in LA. He lives in New York. He's across the continent, and I can't get away from it. So there you have it, folks. That is No Filter Friday. Hopefully we can take a little break from dick out stories for some time. Maybe calm down a little bit and give us a breather from all of this situation. So I will see you next week. If you're interested in the podcast, or you're a podcast listener, give it a rating or a review or some stars, whatever it is, whatever platform you listen to it on. iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, all those. And there's a few other places too, but those are the only 3 that I remember. So give us a rating and check out other shows on Public House Media. David Bob, you gave me a hashtag. Tuck it in, yes. Thank you, John McKenzie. All is well, obviously. I mean, as well as it can be, basically. So, come back next week. Who knows what's going to happen in a week? We couldn't make this stuff up if we tried. And I will see you all later. Bye, 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 bye.